It's the Rhinos all day for me. Huddersfield take on London over at the John Smiths. Big trip up the motorway for London to take on Rick Stone's men at the JJB. How do you see this one going?
I think London are going to win.
Right. Run me through this one then.
I think they've got... Yeah, they're suffering obviously because Pirarangi isn't going to be there now for the rest of the season, but...
Which is huge.
It's given a chance for Bartow, who was playing well earlier on in the season, to come back in, and he's actually quite a steady player. And they've got the best half on the pitch, I think, in Jamie Soward. And on top of that, their pack's been performing really strongly in these qualifiers. And they lost to Lee in the first game, but that was by no means were they a battered and beaten team. They showed a lot of capacity to play still late on in that game to get it back to where they got it to. And then since then, the forwards, they've played the easy beats, but the forwards have ripped through other teams. And if they can show that sort of resolve against Huddersfield side that I don't think have really been that tough this year, I think they've got a chance.
They've certainly got a chance. I agree with you on that, but I think Huddersfield are clear favourites for a reason. And at home, with the quality they've got at their disposal, they should come out on top in this one, which is why I'm backing Huddersfield to go out and get a win. I take your point that Soward is probably the best player on the park, but I think that away from that, Huddersfield should have the more effective pack. They've certainly got the better wide players, and they've still got capable enough halves to distribute the ball well enough that they can potentially tear this London side to shreds. I don't think it's going to be a kicking, but I do think Huddersfield are going to win by 2 to 4 clear scores, I would say. Hull KR take on Leeds over in Lee, over in East Hull. Now, a lot of people are pegging Lee as nailed on for this one, and this basically being their cakewalk into the Super League. I think Hull KR are going to have a tremendous amount to say in this game. This is a Hull KR side that came within a couple of points of beating Leeds over at Headingley a few weeks ago. They are more than capable of getting a win over Lee, and I think this is going to be what happens. I think Hull KR are going to win this one. Yeah,
I agree. I think Hull KR. Lee, this is their first tough road trip of the 8 so far, and let's not underdress that too much. And they actually didn't batter Featherstone that convincingly in the previous away game.
Yeah.
And Hull KR seem to have found their best form of the season. So I find it hard to say that they won't win this one at home.
Yeah, definitely. And final game of the qualifiers sees the bottom two sides Batley take on Featherstone. Pride at stake. This is the one where one of these two teams are going to pick up their 2 points for the campaign, unless they somehow contrive to have a draw. I'm going with home field advantage. Batley.
Yeah, coin toss for me, but I'm going to go with Fev. Just
to be a contrary little madam.
Well, we can't agree all the time.
No, we can't, Mark. Okay, so there you go. Championship game of the week. What have you picked out for us?
Well, this week sees the top 4 play the bottom 4, so it's not got a definite relegation scrap on. But obviously, if Workington and Whitehaven lose this week, then there's no question marks in that regard. Anyway, we're going Sheffield v Workington as the game of the week. Just because I think of the two sides, Whitehaven and Workington have probably been showing the better form in the last month or two.
Yeah.
And Sheffield obviously are a big story at the moment with the potential going out of business, the search for new owners, and maybe a playoff push in a final in terms of this could really nail things down for them to have a better experience at the end of the year. So they need to keep winning to ensure that, with Swinton and Oldham hot on their heels for that top 4 spot. And so I think it's an interesting one for both sides, and I think the need to win for Workington is what I'm going to edge with and say I'm going to back your old mate Jared Samet. Yeah,
absolutely. Fair. Well, there you go. League One game of the week. Sorry, League One Super 8's game of the week. What have you got for us?
Rochdale versus Doncaster. It's a big, important one for positioning. I kind of think the playoff race is almost run, and I think some of the noises out of places like Keighley and Hunslet maybe suggest that there's a sense that they feel that way too. Obviously, at this stage, this late stage in their 8s. Rochdale and Doncaster, though, are manoeuvring for places, and the winner of this could go a long way to challenging Barrow for that second spot and the the right to have two cracks of the whip, as it were. So I think that one we pick out, and I'd edge for home field advantage on this one.
Yeah, you would say so. And in League One Shield, what have we got?
Well, Newcastle against Coventry. We know Newcastle have already sealed top spot. Coventry are the team that are chasing down North Wales to see if they can squeak in for that second spot, and it's pretty unrealistic at this stage, but this would be a big win.
It would.
To maybe mix things up.
Do you think they will?
No,
all right. In the NRL then, what stands out?
Right, the Cowboys versus the Titans on Saturday. This is because it's a win-and-in scenario for the Titans, but it's not exactly an easy place to travel up to
Townsville,
up there to Townsville, and go into the reigning Premier's backyard and see if they can pick those boys off, and also prevent the Cowboys probably from being in the top four. Then, well, it might well do. Then, depending on the outcome of that game, there's a game on Sunday, the Tigers versus the Raiders, which obviously then becomes significant. Again, for two sorts of reasons. The Raiders, they're settled in the top four, but they could jump into the top two, depending on what happens on Saturday's game between the Storm and the Sharks, which is the other one I'd pick out for you. But the Tigers need to win this one. If the Titans lose, the Tigers win, the Tigers are in. So it's very interesting.
Very good. And on Saturday, there's a top of the table clash.
Well, that's what I said. The Storm versus the Sharks is the...
Forgive me, yes, of course you did.
It's all right. Don't worry.
So I was too busy making notes for the wrap-up.
The winner of that takes home the minor premiership, which maybe isn't, totally coveted, but what it does show is a massive improvement from the Sharks, and also I think for the Storm it's unexpected. The decline of that side that's been expected has been completely arrested with the performances of some of the other players, the people like the
Vunivalus and the Cameron Munsters and people like
exactly
that.
The exciting outside backs they've got,
and of course they retain a strong pack as well, don't they? With some of their forwards are more than capable of laying the platform even now.
For me, Jesse Bromwich is one of the best front rowers in the world. I know not everyone rates him as highly as I do, but I think he's been proven for 5 or 6 years now to be a really important player. And then you've got some other people like Harris and people like that who are invaluable to that team, and probably a little bit.
Such a soft spot for Tohu Harris after he got kicked out of the World Cup squad just so that they could accommodate Sonny Williams. I've always kind of felt like, oh, poor old Tohu. And his name sort of sounds like tofu.
And Proctor as well on the other side of the pitch as well.
Yeah, definitely. Right. That is very much your Super League pilot. Oh, you absolute penis. You better have something to interject at this point. I'm getting a bit bored of this.
Well, people who don't already have Premier Sports, there's 5 games on 5 of the games from next weekend's round in the NRL are on Freeview for Premier Sports. So if you're subscribed to any of the things that carry those games, the Sharks game isn't one of them, I don't believe. So your subscription's
valid.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that then before I get on my high horse. Right, that's the Super League pod taken care of. All that remains for us to do is to wrap up the show. Right, that's your Cup Final Super League pod taken care of. Thanks again to Scoots28 Mac, our friend Sarah, for joining us on the
brilliant
on
stuff.
the phone. Fantastic stuff as well, and lovely to hear that proper Hull accent as well. We always like it. Always makes. I used to work with a lad from Hull, and we used to get that "oh no, there's snow on the road" thing going on. It's tremendous. It always pricks my ears up to hear.
And there was no baby arrived in the south, so it's safe to have a northern baby for the Hugheses, it looks like.
That's it. I'm not sure residency applies to northern and southern, does it?
Either way, it was important to them, I think.
Good stuff.
But the child's name obviously is now massively up in the air with no clear front runner for who was. I mean, obviously Sneyd won man of the match. For Nua was very significant in the game. Mate. So there's a range of names now, and obviously it could be called Radders for what Radford brought to the table.
Radford Hughes. That is a very posh sounding name, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be one that sticks. I suggested Dancings to them.
Yes.
Which would be good if it was a girl.
I don't think anyone would call a child that. Maybe a horse. Call that.
Dancing's Hughes.
Yeah.
That's a great name. Really good.
I threw Mark Mahay Jamie.
Can't call a kid Mark Hughes because no one will associate that with rugby. They'll just associate it with that.
All right then, Mark, Jamie, yeah, mate Hughes.
Hughes.
Yeah,
that's a great one. That is a great one. SLP recommends Mark. You start and I'll follow. What have you got for us?
I'm going to start with a sports documentary I watched during the last week. It's available on Sky Catch Up or what have you. It's called The Fall.
Okay.
And it's not the Mancunian band or the BBC TV series. It's
thanks for clearing that up, because I did wonder.
It's Mary Decker and Zola Budd in the 1984 Los Angeles Olympics, which will have some resonance for you because obviously the Coliseum is where the Rams will be playing for the next 2 years until the new stadium's ready. But and it was all about like the build up to it, their careers to that point, who they were as people. It's strange how like there's quite a few similar parallels in terms of their family relationships and that sort of stuff. Apart from Mary Decker comes off as a bit of a knobhead and Zola Budd comes off as a little bit, you feel sorry for her.
Right.
But maybe that's just the way it comes off. But it's very interesting, gives a really good insight into particularly the Zola Budd story. I just sort of remember her being like, hearing about her for years after and thinking she's not really British, what's going on here? She runs with no shoes on, what's going on here?
Well, that's it, because it was during apartheid, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Significance.
But it puts a lot more perspective to that story, certainly, and also explains more why Mary Decker was a bit of a knobhead when it came to the way she reacted to the whole incident, considering it wasn't really anyone's fault, and if anything, she instigated things by catching accidentally the runner in front of her. But it's really interesting insight into athletes, what drives them, what reasons they compete, and then the reunion between them as well at the end is.
How's that?
It goes better than
you would expect.
Than I was expecting. Right. But I don't want to spoil it.
No, don't give us too many spoilers. That sounds really good.
But it is a good watch.
Good stuff. Well, one of my recommends this week is Key and Peele. Have you heard of Key and Peele, Mark?
No, is it another Netflix thing?
No, Key and Peele are comedians from America, to African American
chaps. It was that video you shared the other day.
Yeah, well, do you know, the reason I came across them, because I'd never heard of them, and I don't think they show Key and Peele on Comedy Central over here.
I'd never heard of them.
The reason I stumbled across them was watching The Daily Show, and they had Keegan out of Key and Peele on, and they were interviewing him about a film that these two had done. And I thought, well, I must look at some of the stuff on YouTube and start watching. And actually, on Wednesday or Thursday night this week, I just started like throwing YouTube clips up from my phone onto the TV, and just had a big queue of them going. And I kept finding ones that I thought would be funny. And it's the first time in a long time that I've actually laugh out loud comedy. Some of the stuff was really making me chuckle. So
that white lad at the end of
Dan Smith. Well, so obviously, kind of, because there wasn't a right lot going on Thursday and Friday night, I put a couple of those up, and the ones that I thought would appeal to people because it was Mickey taken out of the way that American sports casting is done, and some of the names that they'd come up with. But it's well worth a look, because actually they do some of the stuff's quite funny in a social commentary kind of way as well, and they take the Mickey out of themselves and their own culture as much as taking the Mickey out of white people trying to appropriate black culture as well. And it's very, very I think it's very, very funny, and it's actually very well done, and the production value is really high.
Black people names are well worth taking, the American black people names anyway, not like traditional African names and that sort of thing. Obviously they have a heritage, but the American black people names just crack me up, and you just put dirt in front of something and you've got a star running back.
Well, one of my favourite ones was the Jasper Probing Crooks, which was a good one, and there was another Carpatron Duke Marriott and things like that. So Jackson Waxon Flaxon Jackson was a good one, and there was they did who was it, Troy Polamalu? They did a Polynesian guy in the video that I put up, who was Hakalaka Flaka Nakalaka Hakalaka Flaka, and they're very keen to take the Mickey answers, but they're well worth a look, and there's tons and tons and tons of stuff on YouTube.
Did I ever tell you
the
black woman name that he invented?
Are we going to have to be careful here?
Well, I don't know.
We don't have the right to do this.
I thought we spoke about it on the show. I think we spoke about this sort of stuff on the show.
I don't recall you ever telling me that you've invented a name for a black woman.
Would you ever watch have you ever seen Catfish? We've spoken about this before, I'm sure.
We've talked about Catfish, yes.
So one of the shows had a woman on it who was called like Shatoya or